Hey everyone. Uh yeah, tough game against the Tampa Bay Lightning here. So welcome to another ECH post-game live. I got one thing to say. I've just about no, I'm not gonna. I do read the Discord. I did check the Discord. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna waste a swear on this game. But yeah, tough one against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Kraken lose 6-2. I mean, pretty darn outclassed by Tampa in this one. They did make it close for a little bit score wise, even though the game never felt close. But Tampa pulls away at the end. That's kind of the end of it. So some stuff to break down from this one. I think we got some interesting takeaways, and man, I think we're really zeroing in on just exactly what this team is. And I don't mean that like in a negative sense. I just think this team, I think they're getting more and more predictable. And you could say, could be a positive, could be a negative, but I just think in a lot of ways, they're getting kind of predictable. So no, Maddie, I'm not going to say it. No, Cole, I'm not going to say it. I'm not wasting the first swear on stream for this. There'll be a time. There will be a time. I'm telling you, something is going to drive me crazy enough, but it's not this game, because this game it kind of made sense. Look, like the Kraken and the Lightning are just teams on different levels right now, and this result just made sense. And so we'll break down why it made sense. But like, this one isn't driving me crazy. But before we do that, though, got to talk about our sponsor, Queen Anne Beer Hall, who brings each and every one of these post-game lives to you. And we have our watch party on Thursday at Queen Anne Beer Hall. I cannot wait. Just a couple days out from now, Kraken are facing the Nashville Predators. Come join us. It's going to be a really fun time. It'll be a much easier opponent than this Tampa game. Kraken can try and get some revenge on Nashville for that last game that they played here. But as I see, McMady's saying, hey, that McMahon fellow is pretty all right. And I think, yeah, Bobby McMahon gets another goal in this one. So does Jared McCann. Kraken ordering a McDouble tonight. And hey, look, I love a good McDouble, but you know what I like even more? The burger of the month at Queen Anne Beer Hall. I'm a sucker for their burger of the month every single month. But this month, you can be festive for today, St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. This month's burger of the month is the corned beef smash, corned beef braised in sea pine lager. Not just ordinary corned beef. Like, who does that? Like, braising the beef in the sea pine lager, shaved onions, Swiss cheese, sauerkraut, with a Dijon and stone ground mustard aioli. But sounds really, really good to me. And I know I already talked about Queen Anne Beer Hall, talked about the watch party. I could have just left it at that, but I need every excuse I can get to talk about the burger of the month. Dylan often starts these. And so, when he starts, I don't always get the chance to talk burger of the month. So I had to mention it. Corned beef smash. You can order that in a couple days at our watch party. Sounds really good to me. Anyway, on to the Kraken game. Now I'm hungry. Anyway, on to the Kraken game. As I see Jamin here, scheduled loss, no curse. It's kind of how I feel about it. And in general, like, let's look at the big picture of this game. The Kraken and Lightning are just on two different levels. Tampa's one of the best teams in the NHL. The Kraken are struggling to hang in the playoff race. They're struggling to get that last playoff spot in a very weak division. This kind of felt like a scheduled loss. And I think also this game really showed the potential, but also the limits of this Kraken team and the way that they play. I'll start with the potential, because the Kraken, look, they made it close. It was 3-2 for a little bit. They get a couple goals. And I think you look at a lot of the plays where the puck was in their zone, and Grubauer made a lot of the saves that he needed to make. Like the Lightning, at the end, they kind of made it ugly, but like they had a ton of offensive zone time that they just could not convert on. Required Grubauer being excellent. Like, it requires elite goaltending, but they were largely able to shut the Lightning down. And if the Kraken just hadn't made a few boneheaded mistakes and handed the Lightning things, they could have been in this game. They could have eked out a win like they did against Carolina. I think the difference in this one was turnovers. It was turnovers, and it was, the bad line change that they made to start the period. Like, the only goals, the first 4 goals that Tampa had all of them were off of just big Kraken turnovers or mistakes. It was stuff the Kraken gave them. The Lightning were earning a ton as far as chances, but they didn't earn any chances they really converted on. And so I think you have the potential of that system where, yeah, you can drag a team into a close game, even though they're way better than you. But I think it also shows the limits of that system where you really do have to be perfect. You cannot afford to make a mistake because a good team will put a mistake in the back of your net. And that's what happened, 4 or 5 times in this one to the Kraken. And so I think like that's just kind of where this team is at. If you're playing against a really good team, you have to play focused and you have to play perfect in order to have a chance. And you make any mistakes and that's it. Game over. And I think that was kind of the case in this one, despite the Kraken making it close. Let's dive into chat here as we got this one from Schultz. If Tolvie is going to miss any more games, who do the Kraken call up for the road trip? Hayden or Oscar Fisker Molgaard? Good question there from Schultz on the lineup. So yeah, Eli Tolvanen misses this one with an upper body injury. We don't know how long he's out exactly. And so Jacob Melanson comes into the lineup. He's the obvious guy to move in. As far as like who comes up, because for the road trip, you're going to want an extra forward. It's interesting. I think, Hayden and Fisker Molgaard are 2 clear names. I think it's probably going to be one of those 2. My guess would be Oscar Fisker Molgaard, just having a little bit more positional flexibility since Ben Myers, can swap out to wing if you want Molgaard at center. I think he's probably the better option, especially given that Hayden, it's been a while since he's been at the NHL level. So that would be my guess. But yeah, I think they probably, if Tolvanen's going to be out for an extended period of time, they'll probably want to make another call up. I think that'll be telling, is if they like call someone up before the start of the trip, you can probably guess that Tolvanen might be out a little bit longer. Mason, good thing the Pacific Division and Western Conference suck. They sure do. They absolutely sure do. And that's the thing. The Kraken don't even really lose any ground. They're still in the final playoff spot. 71 points. The Kings didn't play tonight. The Sharks lost in regulation. The teams that are chasing them are just no good. And so like the Kraken can absolutely afford a loss like this against Tampa. As long as they take care of the games they're supposed to win, they're fine. That's a lot of what we talked about on the Deep Dive podcast today, is just, the Kraken being able to beat bad teams. If they can do that, they're okay. The problem was when they stopped being able to beat bad teams post-Olympics, like the St. Louis games, the Nashville game. That's when it gets a little dicey. But hey, if you can take care of, and look, the next 3 games that they have, easy opponents: Nashville, Columbus, Florida. Those should be 3 easy wins if they play focused, if they play their game, should be wins. So like they've got that coming up before it gets tough on the schedule. So I think, again, they're fine. I'm not panicking about the playoffs. Let's see, Jason, when the Kraken grow up, I hope they're as good as Tampa Bay. I mean, that'd be nice. I mean, back-to-back Stanley Cups, it's hard to beat. Like the record of accomplishment for this Tampa core is very few teams have done that. And even now, the way they've refreshed after taking a step back after their cup wins, I mean, they look ready and poised to make another deep run. I will say how it all started for Tampa, though, where they grew up, was they had to bottom out. They had to get very bad. They had to have a couple of top draft picks in Steven Stamkos and Victor Hedman. Like you need top 2 picks. And that's kind of how they were able to build that core. You hit on Nikita Kucherov, a late round pick. That's kind of lucky. You can't count on that. But at the end of the day, all of these teams, these dynasties, they do start with a proper rebuild, which the Kraken haven't really gone through, and I don't think they have any intention of going through. For Chris, I can't wait for the day when we have a team like that. I think it'll happen one day, but still a little ways out. There's levels to this, and the Kraken are just not at Tampa's level right now. Here we go. We got Kraken Queen. Shout out to Maddie for that vertical leap and diving pass on the McMahon goal. Other than that, that was the play of the game for the Kraken tonight. That was awesome. I mean, the vertical on that, like I wonder just how high he jumped off the ice. I don't think the NHL's motion tracking or player tracking would take that into account or would have a way to measure that. But that is so hard to do in skates. And then the diving pass too. It's not just the jump and grabbing the puck, but to lay out and get that puck to Bobby McMahon. What a great effort play. Love that one from Matty Beniers. And then McMahon, making it count. I think that's something cool. When you see your teammate give that kind of effort, you want to make it count. So that was definitely, I mean, if we're getting asked later our favorite goal of the game, that's got to be my favorite goal of the game. That was awesome. Let's see. And then Top Cheddar, turnovers, nonstop turnovers. I mean, that that was the whole thing in this game. That was the reason the Kraken went behind as much as they did. It starts with Jared McCann with that bad turnover on the first Lightning goal, just kind of turning toward his own blue line. Not sure exactly where he was going with that one. Then Ben Myers turnover in the D zone. And then you have the line change goal. And then Matty Beniers, on the fourth Tampa goal with that turnover basically behind his own net. It's just things like that you've got to clean up. And I'm sure that Lane Lambert is going to talk about that plenty after the game. I'm sure he saw what we all did. I'm sure Dylan's going to come join us in a little bit and, relay that from Lane Lambert. But the turnovers, it was everything. Like 3 of the 4 Tampa goals to start the game came off of Kraken D zone turnovers. They just can't do that. Mark Cast, no consistency from the boys, just kills me every night. I mean, I think there is a lack of consistency over the course of the season, although I think the Kraken have played pretty similar the level of hockey. Like the last 3 games, I think they played basically the same way. The difference is they were facing 2 tanking teams before, and now they're facing like one of the top teams in the league. Like that's why I kind of said in my post-game debrief after the last one, like they're going to need to take it up a notch if they're going to have a chance against Tampa. I think they're actually playing kind of consistently, right? Consistently inconsistent, but I think it's just a matter of opponent right now, but they need to be more consistent as far as their focus and just bringing that every night. Cause that's been the key to whether they win or lose all season. See, Striatic, it's giving Sutter era Calgary Flames a little bit. I mean, I'm trying to, think back to, because that was, well, you mean second Sutter era, because the first Sutter era Flames were really good. They made the Cup final. But yeah, there's multiple Sutter Flames eras. Stone Cold asking, think Matt Murray will actually get a start? I don't think so. I mean, Philip Grubauer's been playing great. By the way, I thought Philip Grubauer was really good in this one. You could tell by the third period he'd kind of had it. Like when he would make saves, he'd just throw the puck back out. It seemed like he was frustrated with the way this one was going, and I don't blame him because he was stopping all the shots you could expect him to. I mean, you look at the goals, and they're like 2 pass backdoor tap-ins that the goalie has no chance on. I think Grubauer deserved a lot better tonight than what the team in front of him gave him. So he's playing well. Joey, I think this team wants him to be the starter. The fact that they started him so much after the Olympics says that. I don't see Murray getting a start unless there's an injury. And then Cole, if they miss the playoffs, will you say after? Maybe. That's another possible time to say it. And X-Kid Z, it's hard to find anything to say about this team that already hasn't been said, I guess, other than how great McMahon has been. But how long will the streak last? Capo Caco already had early success. I think, look, this is what I'm talking about with the team just kind of being predictable at this point. And again, it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but like they are who they are. A lot of it's going to be opponent based. If they face an opponent like Tampa, they're almost certainly going to lose. They face an opponent like Florida or Vancouver, they're almost certainly going to win. And if they face a team in the middle, they're probably going to take care of it, but it all depends on if they're on the upswing or the downswing. As for Bobby McMahon, though, he's been fantastic. We talked about him at length on the Deep Dive podcast today. Like, we love the things that he's doing. I mean, the way he's shooting the puck right now, like, I think, is he still shooting? Like, I know going into this game, he was shooting 40% with the Kraken. That's going to come down a little bit, of course. Like, he's getting a little lucky with the shots he's taken on net that are going in. But the fact that he is willing to shoot and have that shooting mentality, that's huge. This team needs more of that. And I think, as Dylan said on the podcast, even when they stop going in all the time, they're going to generate rebounds. They're going to create more offense. So, I love what he's done. And yeah, we did see it with Capo Caco when he got here last season. The run that he went on, the scoring at that level wasn't exactly sustainable. But he can still be a useful player. And so, like, that's the thing, you don't want to get too carried away because, look, McMahon is like at a 100 goal pace. If you just take his tenure with the Kraken, he's not going to be a 100 goal scorer in the NHL in a season. That's not sustainable, but he's still going to be a very useful forward. And if he could get 25 or so, that's already one of the top scorers on this team. Let's see. Karemi, is the TNT cursed? We always lose when they stream it. I haven't kept track of the record with the TNT games. I know, it's tough with the later starts too. I don't like that. Don't particularly like the broadcasts, but it is what it is. Let's see. Sylvie, I'll stick around if you guys promise not to say the name. Well, I haven't said it yet. I don't think so. I haven't said this. Hopefully you're still sticking around, Sylvie there, the guy who got the hat trick in this one with the empty netter. And then Kremi asking, when we're losing 5-2, can we please keep the goalie? I mean, we already knew the result of that empty net. Yeah, that one, look, I'm usually in favor of pulling the goalie, even when it's a long shot. Like, get some momentum to build into the next game, or maybe have an outside chance or something. Against this Tampa team that is just so good, especially the way they were defending, I don't know. I don't, again, it doesn't hurt you. So I don't hate the decision, but I certainly don't like it. Just, it felt like a guaranteed goal for Tampa, and they scored pretty quickly. So like that one, I feel like the Kraken had no chance. And look, if it was 4-2, go for it. By all means, go for it. I don't know. The 5-2, like Tampa's going to burn you on that one. And yeah, ends up being a hat trick. From Jason, no Newman. I would think of him more as the natural Tolvey replacement. I mean, that is interesting because he's got the shot. Of course, he's Finnish. The thing is, he doesn't play that 200-foot game like Eeli Tolvanen does. He doesn't defend the way that Eeli Tolvanen does, do all those little things. He doesn't hit like Eeli Tolvanen does. And so I think that's kind of the way that Lane Lambert might see it. I think there are some differences there between him and Tolvanen. I think actually Freddie Gaudreau, who they put in that spot today, probably the more one-to-one Tolvanen replacement, just in they play a different style, but like the 200-foot game, the fit on that line with Chandler Stevenson, like I think they already have their guy for that. It's just who would be the potential replacement fourth liner, and I think that would probably be Mulgaard. From Anthony, if Grubauer is playing better, should Lane move to starting Grubauer against lesser opponents to hopefully ensure more wins and throw Joey against the scheduled losses? No chance for Gru tonight. I would say yeah, probably. The thing is, there are so few scheduled losses like left on this schedule, because that's one thing I'm talking about, where if the Kraken play a really good team, they're probably going to lose. They don't play a whole lot of really good teams left. They have one more game against Tampa. Aside from that, they've got Buffalo, who's pretty good. Aside from that, all of these, I guess they got one, and then Minnesota. But like aside from that, that's not a whole lot of really scheduled losses. And I think Minnesota's beatable too. So I think, look, I just think the answer is to start Grubauer more often than Joey. Just start him 3 out of every 4 games. He's clearly your better goalie right now. I think if you're going to get to the playoffs, he's going to be the guy to take you there in net. And once you get there, look, I think he's got to be the guy that you start at this point, unless things really flip in the last month of the season. I think it's time for Philip Grubauer to start getting the lion's share of starts here. He started fewer games than Joey Daccord. You shouldn't have to worry about wear and tear on him. He should be able to get into a rhythm. You always got to play the hot hand in net. And I think the Kraken may have overthought that a little bit coming out of the Olympic break. So, but yeah, it's time for this to be Grubauer's team in net for sure. And Kraken crew deserve better. From Schultz, is it finally time for a right scratch? Yeah, I mean, he's been invisible at best and a minor liability at worst recently. I think it's certainly something that if everyone's healthy, you might think about. The problem is, I mean, the last couple games, I liked his line with Catton and Kakko. This game they were shut down. I might give it, one more game and see if they can't figure it out against Nashville, and look good and win their matchups, then maybe I would. But yeah, I mean, he's not bringing a whole lot right now. I think the Kraken have kind of messed up that situation, and, we'll see. But I just think right now, I mean, Ben Myers is probably doing more for you at the moment. A turnover today aside, but prior to this game, Ben Myers, I think, was doing for you at the moment than Shane Wright in the short term. Chuck, I was grateful for that 2 or 3 minute stretch in the third period when TNT's audio went out. 2 blissful minutes, 3 of them gushing about player who I will not name, so that Sylvie stays here. Yeah, I mean, again, with these, I never have the chance to actually listen to the broadcast in the moment, but look, I understand them gushing about Tampa generally, given how this game was going and, where they are in the standings versus the Kraken. But yeah, they really do have a tendency to kind of pick a team and gush about them. Let's see, possibly the best part of the game there with the silence. Maddie, can we waive Murray? Why are we still carrying 3? Well, the reason the Kraken are still carrying 3 goalies, and this is a good question, Maddie, is post-trade deadline, there is no roster size limit. So they can have as many players on the roster as they want, so long as they are cap compliant. And the Kraken have a ton of cap space. So they don't have to worry about cap compliance. So waiving him, you just risk losing him and losing a potential insurance policy, or, should someone get hurt, you don't want to lose him if you don't have to. And because there's no roster size limit, they don't have to. So that's why. Oh, and I see Bryce getting right on it. Of course, you guys beat me to it. But yeah, that's exactly why. So no reason to waive Murray. Schultz, would Wright, Evans, and a couple of firsts be enough to pry either Nylander or Matthews out of Toronto in the offseason? McMahon and Lambert being in Seattle would help with any no-move clause waiving. No, that would not be nearly enough for either Nylander or Matthews. I don't even know if the Kraken have enough to put together a package that might entice the Leafs for one of those two guys. I mean, I think it would have to start with Matty Beniers, Jake O'Brien, and Berkeley Cat. That's the start, I think. Maybe Shane Wright is also part of that package, but like guy like Austin Matthews, guy like William Nylander. I mean, Matthews would have more value than Nylander, but like to move for someone like Austin Matthews, it would take something that would make Kraken fans quite uncomfortable. I mean, a player like that's got a lot of value. And I mean, unless of course there's only one place he's willing to go and that reduces the leverage, I cannot fathom a world in which Austin Matthews thinks that Seattle is the one place he wants to go. And of course, since he has the no move clause, he's got full control over his destination. I gotta think if he waives, it's probably to go to a cup contender and not Seattle. Karemi, any thoughts of Mahura? I mean, I think we've talked about the possibility of a Riker Evans healthy scratch for a while now. If he is scratched, I think Mahura would be the guy to go to. I certainly wouldn't mind seeing it. I think Evans hasn't played all that great in the last several games. I think to change up something on the D and maybe even have a little bit more defensively minded, on the blue line might be a good thing given this team's propensity for turnovers, mistakes, things like that. So I'd be in support of bringing him back in the lineup. It's tough now when you've been sitting this long to have someone come back in, but I think he could handle it, especially if he's like with Jamie Alexiak or something, someone who can kind of help stabilize things back there. Hey, good to see you're still here, Sylvia. I didn't say his name yet. I won't. I can't promise anything about Dylan because he didn't get the memo. I'm looking over to see. I don't see him setting up yet. Yeah, can't promise anything about Dylan. And then Kraken Queen asking thoughts about changing up the D pairings. Yes, we were just talking about the D. I think it's something the Kraken could look into. Look, Dunn Larson is not getting broken up as long as they're healthy. Like those two are staying together. I don't even think it's worth talking about because Lambert's not going to do it. No one's going to do it. As for the bottom two pairings, though, they've kind of moved it around with like between Lindgren, Montour, Alexiak, Montour. I still think the current configuration, if you're going to play these six, is probably as good as you're going to get because we've seen with Alexiak, Montour, like that one's usually okay. The problem is if you have Lindgren with Evans, Mahura, or Fleury, it can get dicey. And so that I don't like any of those third pairing options or configurations. So I think the way you have it is probably the best way to go about it. I mean, you look at this game too, like it wasn't really, that's not where the problem was. I mean, you look at the goals against for the Kraken, those big turnovers, it was McCann, Myers, and Beniers. Like those were all forwards who were turning the puck over. You need better plays from your forwards there. It's not like it's the D who's turning it over. So I was actually thought the blue liners were okay in this one. But in general, yeah, I think really the change to make would be, if you're going to make one, is scratching Riker Evans for someone like a Josh Mahura or a Cale Fleury. And yeah, to get Matthews, you got to compete with the entire league for him. So good luck. Yeah, no, with Burnt Krem, like Austin Matthews, I'm sorry, it's just not really realistic for here. It'd be a bidding war met with the whole league and he'd pick his destination. And the thing is, even with money, because the whole thing, what Seattle could bring is just offering him a ridiculous amount of money, but other teams are going to do that too. The thing is also, he's on a contract already. They'd have to like communicate to him that in an extension, they would offer him, some insane amount of money. And even then, I think other teams would be willing to do that anyway. He's going to get paid no matter what, but he's got 2 years left after this one anyway, so you can't even pay him a ton right away. From Cascadia Tracks, is it me or has the big rig been playing better the past few games? Obviously, the goals and more physically. Yeah, I mean, I think as the playoffs have approached and these games have been getting more competitive, I think he's kind of ratcheted things up. I think he's the type of player that maybe plays a different style when the games don't mean as much. And that's one of the reasons he's looked, I think, kind of bad the last 2 years, is because the Kraken haven't played a whole lot of competitive games where they've been in a playoff race. But we've seen, like with his hit totals and all this stuff, how he gets better in the playoffs and in more meaningful games. And I think as these games have been getting more meaningful, yeah, I think he's been playing better. He seems more engaged. He's willing to be more physical. I mean, he's blocking shots like he always does, but jumping into the offensive zone too, like against bad teams like Vancouver and Florida, he doesn't mind jumping into the O zone and making a play. So I'm with you. I think it's a good observation there from Cascadia Tracks. And I see Dylan setting up, getting ready. He just popped out here after talking to Lane Lambert and the players. So interested to see what he has to say. I'll probably be another couple minutes before he's ready. But yeah, if anyone has any questions for Dylan, about the room, about the game, curious for his takes, feel free to throw that in chat here. And I'm also curious just kind of what he, we were sitting next to each other throughout the whole game. There was a lot of, yikes type moments, but we haven't like fully dissected this one. So I'm curious his take in the big picture of like what this game means. Cause I've given you my thoughts on it as far as just, the turnovers, the potential of the system, the limits of the system, but he usually sees things in a different way than I do. Karemi, I don't know why, but I feel like Dunn is making many mistakes during the game. I mean, I didn't see a ton from him tonight. The thing with Dunn is he's a very risk reward player. He's going to take risks, especially when the team is trailing. And sometimes those can lead to mistakes. And I think there were a couple of those tonight, but that's just the nature of the player that you have there. And I think he's going to be given the green light to take more risks when they're trailing. And then we got Dylan getting ready, just about to give me the thumbs up. All right. He has given me the thumbs up. Let's bring Dylan on here. Hey there, Dylan.
Hey, how's it going? yeah, really. Yeah, I mean, mood in the locker room, kind of what you would expect after a 6-2 loss. I think everybody, including Lane Lambert, kind of agreed that, look, at times they played well and they played Tampa close. It was just the mistakes. It was the turnovers, especially in the defensive zone, that just can't happen. Lane Lambert characterized them as catastrophic. He said that, he wishes that he could say that they were uncharacteristic, but right now he can't. But that's really what this game ultimately came down to. He said that he wasn't sure that he'd ever seen so many tic-tac-toe goals in an NHL game, but that's what happens. And none of them were on Gruby. But yeah, it just was a really rough time for the Kraken, especially when it came to breakouts. And, talked about it. He had like no idea what happened with the change there. He's like, you got to just stay behind your net. Like he was just like, these are just mistakes that, I don't know. He felt like he was like, did
he use the word like baffled, mind-boggling, dumbfounded again?
He kept calling them catastrophic. That was the word of the night, was catastrophic.
We moved from mind-boggling to catastrophic.
Yeah. So
I described on Twitter, I described that line change as disastrous. That's how it felt. Yeah.
It was. All of the turnovers were absolutely devastating. And it's the way this team kind of tends to go, right? And again, we kind of debated this on the pod earlier today on the deep dive. Is it the schedule? Is it their opponents? Or is it them? Is it just the cycle that they go through where they just have these games where they lose focus? And again, nothing really got cleared up for us tonight on that front, right? It could still be either, and it's probably both. But it was definitely a game where, the mental focus was not there for this team, and it absolutely cost them.
Yeah, it really did in this game. And it's amazing they were able to make it close. And you look at, if you just take away the obvious mental mistakes, like they could have won this game, as crazy as it sounds, because they spent so much time in the D zone. They could have. I mean, was there anything from the players that stood out, or was it just kind of after a loss, just feeling, a little down?
Yeah, it was mostly just that. I mean, Jared McCann talked about can't make those mistakes, and talked about his turnover. Ben Myers talked about his turnover and just how those things can happen.
Let's all take turns talking about our turnovers.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. I mean, again, though, they just like with Lane Lambert agreed, like there was some things that they were doing that was positive, that was strong, but when you make turnovers like that, it doesn't matter. And that's really the lesson of today's game.
Yeah. So Zach asking, what's the deal with McCann? I know he scored tonight, but is he injured again? I didn't notice anything on the McCann front. I'm looking up his ice time right now. I didn't notice an injury. He did only play 12:53 in this one. I got to go look at his shift chart. Yeah.
If he was really injured, we wouldn't have had him for media, and we had him for media. So
okay, well then that tells he's not injured.
Yeah, so I don't think.
Well, actually, his last shift came with 11 minutes to go in the game.
Interesting. So maybe something minor.
Yeah. Good catch there, Zach. I'm gonna go take a look after this, of course, at his last shift and see if I can spot anything. Zach, he didn't get injured that I saw, just hasn't been playing well recently, it feels like. Yeah, I wonder if that was just a benching.
I mean, he scored in their last two games, right? He scored against Florida, he scored against Vancouver. So yeah, I don't think it would be that, but maybe it was. I will say on the injury front, our friend Kate Shefty at the Seattle Times asked if Eeli Tolvanen was expected to join the team right away on the road trip, and Lane Lambert said yes. So it does.
That's a good sign.
Sound like it is kind of true day to day there with Eeli Tolvanen.
Yeah, and the fact that he was listed as a game time decision for tonight, I gotta think is a good sign, even though he didn't end up playing. From Invader here, I would very much like the Kraken to have a player of the talent level of the guy who got a hat trick tonight. It would be nice. We've kind of talked about Tampa. There have been a lot of comments to the effect of, wishing the Kraken could be Tampa one day. It's tough. Like, usually top two picks are
it's really tough. And
even
Tampa,
though it's not with Kucherov.
Right. Yes. But like Tampa had to be bad for a long time. In the 2000s there. It was not, an easy road for them. But it does go to show when you take your time, when you do make those high draft picks, it pays off for you eventually. Yeah,
that is kind of the process. If you want to not just make the playoffs, if you want to win Stanley Cups, that's kind of what you have to do. History has shown that. Stratic asking, was it nice to see Yanni and Oliver again? I thought so. I mean, you had Yanni Gord start, getting in a fight, had the pepper pot in full effect. So that was kind of cool. I missed that.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was a lot of fun to be able to watch both of them again. I've always been a big fan of Oliver Bjorkstrand and his game, so I was happy to be able to see that a little bit more in person, and just a different look for him as far as the line that he was on and kind of what his role within the game was. But
they're both bottom six guys there.
Yeah, I know. And interesting to see how he adapted to that. Yanni, we know what him on the third line for the Tampa Bay Lightning looks like. He gave more of that tonight. Was great on the PK for them, all of that stuff. But yeah, always great to be able to see those two.
Yeah, and on Bjorkstrand too, I love that one play where he's going into the end boards with Jamie Alexiak. Big size mismatch, and the leverage and the way that Bjorkstrand positioned his body to win the puck out of that. Like, that is classic Oliver Bjorkstrand. Love seeing that from him. That's a guy whose dad's a coach.
Yep, definitely.
And then Zoe saying brutal game for the Lindgren Montour pair. I guess, they were, how many of the goals were they on the ice for the goals against? I'm trying to count.
I would have to.
I'm trying to go back and see. But the thing is, I was talking about, because we got questions, and I'm curious your take on this. There was a question about, like, what changes would you make to the D pairs, if any? Talk again about maybe bringing in Josh Mahura for a game. Like, what would you do as far as this blue line? Because what I said is that, like, at least tonight, I felt like the blue line wasn't the problem. You look at the turnovers; those are from forwards. McCann, Myers, Beniers. Like, I was okay with the defense in this one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't think I would really make any changes to the D pairs based on tonight. Like, those weren't the breakdowns that you were having this evening, it was all coming off of breakouts, and it was all forwards, right? It was Ben Myers, it was Jared McCann, it was Matty Beniers. Like, these are the players that were making the turnovers tonight. So I'm with you. I don't think it was on the D pairs. I think it was more of a forward problem, and it was just not having your head up, right, on most of them, all three of them, really. It's just not kind of surveying the ice, just playing off of muscle memory and not taking in what the other team was doing. I mean, Tampa was ready for all of those breakouts. They were pressuring. They had guys in those passing lanes. You pick your head up and you take a moment to look, you're going to see them, right? Like that's what I think of with like the Matty Beniers one. His head's down. Just throwing the puck into a dangerous area of the ice. Like, you just can't do that.
No, it's just simple, basic stuff, and it just comes down to focus for these guys. Like, we see, they either have it or they don't. And the next kid's asking, what's with the blind drop passes? It's kind of been a thing every year. Is it just routine hockey plays that are done without thinking? How does this improve?
Yeah, with the drop passes, like, if you mean like on zone entries or on the power play and stuff, like, those are just pretty standard around the NHL. That's just kind of what you do. And then the player who does the drop pass kind of can lead the charge, try to occupy the defense, and you can then maybe get a clean zone entry. It's usually primarily how they're used. If you mean the blind passes out of the defensive zone, then yeah, that's just mistakes that guys are making because they're just not focused. Like we were just talking about. I mean, that's just something that's got to stop. Lane Lambert said that's got to stop. I mean, right, when he's talking about the catastrophic mistakes tonight, like it's just a focus thing. That's literally all it is. I wish there was more and that it could be something more to break down, but it's just on them to kind of, like I said, have your head up, be paying attention, and just not turn it over. Like it's just kind of that simple. Like, I don't really know what to say. Lane Lambert doesn't really know what to say. Like, I don't think the players didn't know what to say about it, right? Like, they're just plays you just can't make.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something we've been talking about for years, Dylan. It's one of the reasons for these post-game lives that we're doing it once a week. Is it got repetitive last year with talking about like the same things and it just being a focus thing. It's not an X's and O's thing. It's not where you have to make a strategic tweak. It's just you have to be focused, and so that's what it is. Karemi, Tampa Bay were in a losing streak, so I guess they desperately needed this win or something like that mentioned by the TNT commenters. Yeah, I mean, even after this win, Tampa's 3-7 in their last 10. Yeah, they haven't had a pretty good stretch recently. I mean, Buffalo has passed them to be top team in the Atlantic. So, I mean, it is a big win for Tampa.
It would explain why they were pressing so hard, right? Why the forecheck was aggressive, why they were trying to sit in those lanes as the Kraken were trying to break out of the puck. Like that explains a lot. It would also explain why they never really took a back seat. Like once they were up multiple times with multi-goal leads, they were not resting on their laurels, right? They kept pushing, they kept pressing. That would be the reason why.
Yeah, they were so much hungrier than, say, Carolina a couple weeks ago coming in here. Like, that's a big difference. And Carolina was coming off, I think, a big winning streak, pretty secure first in their division. There's a difference between that and a team that's hungry that's just gotten past. Bert Krem, there was a time Tampa Bay was primed to relocate out of Tampa. So they earned their cups. I mean, definitely, like, again, they earned those Stanley Cups. Absolutely. Like, they built the team the right way. They've, I mean, the early Tampa years got a little sketchy and interesting. There's some interesting stories with that, but this iteration, the team, since the 2000 and the 03-04 and everything, they've built things the right way.
Yeah, definitely.
Sylvie, who could we trade for if all stars aligned who would actually excel in Lane's system?
I mean, I think like any player can excel in Lane's system, and he talked a little bit about it today, which is just they just want to be playing games close, right? Like you and I have been talking about all year. Like the system is just don't make mistakes, deal with their rush and their transitional attack, which he felt they did a really good job of doing this evening. And I would agree. I mean, not a lot of the offense was off of the rush until you get to like the power play, the PK situation later, right? And so I think when it comes to like players that are going to excel, if you're asking offensively, look, any star player could probably find a way to excel in the system because they're just that good, and because it is a system that provides the opportunity for counterattacks. But for the most part, like the issues right now with the system are just execution, It's just focus. And so when you're talking about players just having to be focused to play to the system and then everything could be okay, you know, I don't know who's just going to play the most mistake-free hockey, right? Like, because that's essentially what we're talking about.
Right. I mean, you watch players on other teams in the league and you look and see who's good, who's not, but it's hard to know like their mental makeup and kind of who can keep that focus for 82 games, because look, this whole system is designed to basically take skill out of it. Like
Right.
This is designed so that lots of players can excel in this, so that a less skilled team can excel. And so like you almost don't even really target players for this system, in that sense, because like if you're targeting talent, the idea is you target players that are talented enough that you don't have to play this system.
Right.
Like that's really what it is. Like
yeah,
this system is the system you play when you don't have enough talent to get by otherwise.
Yeah, basically.
I'm sorry to sound so negative, but like that's kind of what it's there for.
Yeah, it's because otherwise, like I would be talking about like bottom, fourth line guys, right? Or like Yanni Gourde would be great in this system.
Yeah,
you can trade. Look,
Gord. Ben Myers, Ryan Winterton, Jacob Melanson.
They're doing great.
Freddie Gaudreau, they're fantastic in this system.
Yeah,
but it's like, not who you want to like build a team around as your stars.
Yeah. So that's basically what it is. This is a system designed to make games low event, to drag other teams down, to play tough and close, and then hope you get bounces and try to manufacture bounces, right? Like I talked about earlier today when we did deep dive with Bobby McMahon. You got to make your own luck sometimes. And so I think like players like Bobby McMahon do help. He's got some speed. He can get up ice on the counterattack. He's going to throw pucks on net. More guys like that. But again, it's not a big flashy name that we would be talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what we're talking about. And then Zach asking, can somebody get Freddie on an iPad? He got burned twice on the same backdoor pass for a goal against Colorado, and at least once tonight on the Hagel goal. He keeps missing when the player sneaks down.
Interesting. I'd have to go back and
I know I'm trying to pull up the video here. Yeah.
But look, it's got to be tough on him because he's been bouncing all over the lineup and from center to wing, right? Like it would get tough to just keep track of your assignments when your assignments are constantly shifting on you. And so I will, not to give a full out or anything, right? Like you can't make the mistakes and have blown coverages and all of that. But in his particular set of circumstances, I'll give him a slight pass, or I'd be a little easier on him, or as much as you can be given the end result of those plays.
Yeah, and I'm trying. I can't pull up the video in time, but yeah, I can't. It's the turn. Like for tonight, it's the turnover.
It's the turnovers.
Once you make that turnover, you're already in a bad spot.
Right, you're back on your heels. Like you're just in a brutal spot. Outside of, I mean, like Lane Lambert said, right? It's the most tic-tac-toe goals he's seen in an NHL game. Like unless you're just going to straight up lay down and take away the passing lane that way. And I don't even know that they would work on this team, right? Hagel and Kucherov are good enough; they can just saucer it over you. So, it's just a brutal one. When you're back on your heels and you're having to react from a state of panic, like the Kraken had to on the vast majority of the goals allowed today. There's just not much you can do, right? Like you're just hoping to get a piece of something or to get in the way of something. That's really all you're trying to do.
Yeah. And then from Chuck, Yanni's fight. I can't remember ever being worried about an opposing player getting hurt in a fight before. Still love the guy. And I think that really does speak to, again, the attachment with Yanni Gourde, Kraken fans. And, he's one of the original Kraken. And I think, there was definitely that feeling from a lot of fans, in the building tonight or on TV, just looking and seeing him in that Tampa jersey, which again, Kraken fans knew even before he came to the Kraken, but still like seeing him in another jersey, it did elicit some emotions there.
Yeah, I'm sure it did for me. And it was a good fight for Yanni Gourde.
Yeah, he did quite well. I like that's the thing. I was, maybe you're worried about him getting hurt, but not once the fight actually gets going. At that point, I'm more worried about Ben Myers.
I was gonna say at that point, if you're worried about him getting hurt, you're worried about his hands more than anything.
Exactly. No, he handled himself very well there. I don't think Ben Myers is much of a fighter.
No,
He had
a cut, and it was pretty swollen. Ben Myers, when we talked with him, it was tough.
Yeah, and then from Zoe, this is a follow up from Discord. I wonder if the super long shifts from Lindgren Montour is because they struggle to get the puck out of the zone, and so they're stuck out there. I mean, well, I know you addressed at some point. I don't remember where or when this was, but with Brandon Montour, because he's active in everything, he's going to take longer to get off the ice, and that's just kind of how he plays. But what do you think about what Zoe was saying there?
Yeah, I the internet cut out for me a little bit during that, but I do remember the conversation with Zoe the other night on Discord, and yeah, it's kind of similar to what I just came back into with you as far as Brandon Montour jumps up and joins the rushes, right? Like if the puck's ever on his stick, he's not making the pass to break out. He is skating it up the ice. He did it plenty this evening. I was looking out for it because we had that conversation, and that is absolutely what he does. And then, even if it's not him skating it up the ice, if the Kraken are getting going offensively and they are going to be starting a rush, he loves to go up there and try to join it. And so, I think on his side of things, yes, you're not going to get a ton of passing out of the zone because he's always going to look for a lane to do it himself. And then on the other side of that deep pair, Ryan Lindgren, I mean, he's not particularly known for being a puck mover. It's not really what he's doing out there. He's probably always going to default to letting Brandon Montour collect loose pucks or get to the puck. He's always going to try to chip it over to Montour's side. So I do think that, yes, there might be an issue with that deep pair as far as getting the puck out of the zone and up the ice, because Montour is always going to try to do it himself. And if he can't, then you need somebody who's just going to go ahead and kind of send it up the ice, at least get it past the blue line.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on that. And I think, it's not risk reward, but when it goes well, like there's opportunities also in the ozone and stuff if you can kind of get the right whistle, but you are dependent often on whistles there. And then Zach already saw 2 Bobby McMahon jerseys in the crowd. Well, I haven't seen one yet. Him scoring was definitely a bright spot. And then Scott, that was ridiculous with McMahon and the work visa. Had a feeling he would play in that Vancouver game. Bobby McMahon. So I've talked about it plenty already. Of course, it was one of the main topics to start things off here, and the McDouble and everything. But I want to give you the chance to talk about Bobby McMahon a little bit, because we had a long conversation on the podcast today about, well, how sustainable is this? Is it just down to facing 2 really bad teams in Vancouver and Florida? Scores again tonight. Looks pretty good from the scoring perspective.
Yeah, again, when you're a player who's willing to throw pucks on net, like, good things are going to happen. He's a shooter, and when you look at the goal tonight, I mean, he had just such an incredible angle on Vasilevsky, and he had the time and space to really pick his shot. I mean, Matty Beniers with the dish over to him did an incredible job of setting up Bobby McMahon to be able to act like a sniper, the sniper that he is. I mean, season total wise, he's got the most goals of anybody on the team now.
Yeah,
23. Like, he's a legit goal scorer. So, but shout out to Matty Beniers for being able to make that play and kind of set things up there for him. But it goes to show, like, yeah, he is a more legitimate goal scorer than everybody but Jared McCann on this team, right? And that's a nice thing to have, and it's a nice thing to have a second one of those guys. And that's just huge for a team that struggles to score and struggles to get shots on the board like they did tonight at the beginning of the game. And so to have somebody like that who's going to have speed, who's going to be in the offensive zone, be involved, and just willing to throw pucks on net, or have the ability when he is given time and space to be able to pick a corner on an elite goaltender, like, that's just not something the Kraken have ever had in abundance. They still don't have it in abundance, but they at least have 2 guys now that can do it. And it's just kind of crazy that they both, share such a similar name.
Yeah. You know what? And I'm glad you brought up the goal tonight and picking that corner, because that's a tough play to do. And we saw it too, where Capo Caco rang one off the crossbar or the post. Vasilevsky gives up that short side, but it's a very small spot to hit. It requires a great shot. And I mean, hey, that's a goal scorer's goal. And I hear the voice in the back of my head saying every goal is by definition a goal scorer's goal. Yes. But that was a goal scorer's goal. This one from Jones's Luke here. First live posty for me. Thanks for the therapy as always. Rough game from the boys there. I mean, love to see you in here, especially after this one too. Yeah. To make this your first one, that's real dedication. Love that. Thank you for being in here with us. Let's see. going back up from Zoe, also, it seems like the Kraken are really slow compared to other teams. I can't tell if it's literal foot speed, decision making, or both. I mean, I have thoughts on this, but I'm curious what you think.
I mean, they don't have a ton of burners on this squad, so like there is an element of that. I think some of it though is also just the system, right? Like they want to try to slow the game down, so they're kind of, in theory, again, the execution isn't always there, like it wasn't tonight. In theory, they want to slow the game down. They want it to be controlled. They want to try to keep it all in front of them in most situations. So I think that some of it is deliberate, and some of it just has to do with the fact that, you know, outside of a handful of guys like Bobby McMahon, you just don't have a ton of speed on this roster.
Yeah, and I think the difference that you see between when it's working and when it's not, a lot of it, like you said, is by design, where you're trying to slow the game down. But I think a lot of it too is, especially, you're going to look slow as you're defending. You're going to look slow off the puck. And that's part of an effort to kind of draw the other team in. And as soon as they commit that defenseman and get really caught deep in the zones, boom, you're fast, moving back the other way in transition. Now, when that's off, when that's not connected, when that's not working well, they look slow, because then you overskate the puck and you have to like turn back around, and it looks really slow. When you're moving fast and connected, then it looks fast. So I think like smooth is fast there. Let's see. And then let's see. Oh, from Jones's Luke, again, unrelated, but I'm visiting Seattle to watch the Kraken play the Flames and Kings at CPA next month. What would you both recommend checking out at a first live Kraken game / visit to Climate Pledge? Cheers. Oh man, I've got some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's just enjoy the arena and the experience, right? Try to take it in. My go-to answer for any time anybody asks us kind of this, or really just visiting anywhere, is just try to be present in the moment, right? Take it in, take pictures and video for sure, so you have some stuff for the memories, but also make sure you do take it in yourself too, without those things, right? And just really try to enjoy the experience overall.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I mean, really, for any cool thing you're doing in life, you know, as for stuff specific to here, I mean, you know, take a walk around the concourse, like do a full 360, see the plant wall, see everything that's there. You know, and I'd say if you have a little time beforehand, you know, go and take a walk out by the water. The arena's really close to the water. There's a nice park there in Centennial Park. Like if you just have the extra time to take a walk, you can go out, walk along Alaskan Way and the waterfront. Like it's a really nice area. Again, I don't know like where you're staying or where in the city you're coming from, but would recommend that, weather permitting. Hopefully by then we got weather a little bit nicer. But that's good. And of course, I mean, I know we're biased, but it is the truth. If you need a place before after the game, if you want to get a bite to eat, some good drinks, Queen Anne Beer Hall is the place to go. Don't just ask us, ask the players, ask people with the team. Everybody knows that is the place to go. So would highly recommend Queen Anne Beer Hall. And then also getting a comment saying Proshki. Yes, Proshki is good. Yeah. I think they have one in here in the arena, don't they?
I think so.
I think they do. That's some good in arena food.
Is it in the Amex Hall though?
Oh, it might be. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but Proshki is good. There's also, I mean, if you go and do the normal tourist stuff at Pike Place, but you know, there is, it's there as well. So that is a good recommendation. Can co-sign on that one. And then from Scott, why are the Kraken not calling up Morrison and Furcus, both top 10 in the AHL in scoring? Last game I looked, and that's an understandable question with both those guys scoring so well at the AHL level. However, I get the sense that they're probably not what Lane Lambert is looking for with the way the Kraken are playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where that scoring is not going to immediately translate over to the NHL level, particularly for both those guys who have, you know, Jagger Ferguson's case, only a handful of preseason games, and on Logan Morrison's side, I think 2 NHL games under his belt, right? So guys that would very much be starting from scratch at the NHL level and having to get used to things. They're not going to be put and deployed in the same way at all, because you'd be talking about them being thrown into a bottom 6 roles. You know, just look at the difference between how the Kraken were using Yanni Newman earlier this year versus how he's, you know, being used with the Firebirds, right? They're excelling right now because they're in top 6 roles. They can focus on offense. They get plenty of playing time. They get the special teams time. And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from their performance. It has been legit very good. But when you have all that stuff going in your favor, that is not going to be something that you have going for you if they were able to come up here, right? Like that's just not the way it is. And so there's that angle to it. And then there is the playing to the lane system, having the good defense, having the strong defense, all of your play away from the puck that just takes time, that takes reps. And, you know, the Kraken are in the thick of a playoff hunt. They don't have the games to burn to get those guys up to speed on that, especially because it can take, I mean, you look at like Berkeley Catton this year, it can take like 20 games. There's not 20 games left in the regular season. So I think there's a lot of factors why, but it's never as simple as just calling somebody up and being able to plug them right in, unless you can plug them into a very similar, if not the same role that they have in the AHL. I think of like Chernyshov with the Sharks, where you could just kind of go from top line to top line and kind of keep the same thing there. Unless you can do that, it's usually you know, you don't get the same results out of AHL players when they make the trip up.
Yeah, no, I think that's all well said. And it's the kind of thing you'd be more apt to see, you know, when there's, say, a transition season. And if you're not, you know, if the Kraken were well out of a playoff race or whatever, you bring those guys up and you let now be the development time. But now's not time for development. They're going for a playoff spot. So, yeah, I just don't think we're going to see that. Some more suggestions here for the trip to Seattle. Get to your seat for the anthems, because Tommy is the best. Absolutely. Tommy, very popular here as the anthem singer. Stratic, take the monorail to the game, depending on where you are. That's a good suggestion. Oh, staying in downtown, coming from Melbourne, Australia.
Nice.
We'll 100% get to Queen Anne Beer Hall after hearing about it for so long. Thanks for the advice. Awesome. I mean, that's a long flight up here from Melbourne, but that is so great. We've got a number of Australian members of the ECH community here. We've heard from a few, so that is great to see that. Let's see. Oh, usually no line for the Broshki. That's nice. And then make sure to get the pretzel at Queen Anne Beer Hall. Yeah, the pretzel is a crowd pleaser for sure. So we'll do kind of a last call in chat here. For anyone has anything else or anything that we may have skipped over as we're nearing the hour mark, but anything else like from your, you know, time down with the players and coaches, anything that stood out to you, anything else you wanted to mention about this game at all?
No, I mean, look, my big thing was 3 of the 4 goals were scored off of brutal turnovers. And that's what happened, right? And everybody talked about it. We've already talked about it. I'm sure you spent plenty of time talking about it. I mean, look, it's what I talked about earlier on the deep dive, right? Like this team, when they are unfocused, when they are undisciplined in that way, right? They can't beat anybody, right? Like it doesn't matter that you're playing a team like the Lightning. They couldn't beat the Blues. They couldn't beat any of those teams. And it's on Lane Lambert to somehow get them to pull together. And he's been able to do it all season long. And, you know, he was able to do it for a couple games against Vancouver and Florida. Granted, not the toughest games around, but you know, it's ultimately it's on him to try to figure out a way to get this team and this group of players to not fall into the trap that they've fallen into really since the team has existed, which is just losing focus, losing attention to detail, and making catastrophic mistakes, as Lane Lambert would say tonight.
Yeah, and you know what? If you're looking on the bright side of things for a turnaround, you know, I've always made the case that it's the external factors. It's largely opponent-based. These next 3 games get a lot easier in terms of opponents. So you're not going to face a buzzsaw like the Tampa Bay Lightning in these next 3 games. You are going to literally
in 4 games you will.
In 4 games, you're literally going to face the buzzsaw that is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Don't worry about that. Focus on these next 3. They should be 6 points you can pick up. And if you do, you're going to be in a real good spot playoff-wise because nobody else is getting points. And then here from Scott, 16-hour flight. From what I remember, you will be a zombie getting off the plane. Yeah, I've flown from LA to Sydney once, and yeah, I needed a nice long sleep after that.
I bet.
Zoe, what is the least amount of points to make the playoffs in history? Could the Kraken beat that? No, they cannot, because back in the expansion, when you're going from the original 6 and then had the expansion teams, there were teams, you know, of the new expansion that basically were guaranteed a playoff spot. Teams that were very bad. What was the one we were looking at with Jeff? It was like the 69. It was some year of the Oakland Seals.
Yeah, the Oakland Seals. It was
the Kraken already have
Kraken
more points, I believe, than those Seals had. So if you're looking at history as a whole, no shot. If you're looking at the salary cap era, Oh, what was it? Was it like, I forget if it was like 80, 85 or 87, it was something like that.
It's like
The Kraken could
mid-80s.
flirt with that. It was mid 80s.
Yeah.
So the Kraken could be in the running with that. So we'll see. But yeah, history, no, there's a lot of bad playoff teams in NHL history just because of how things worked out divisionally. XKidsy, in the early seasons, the organization's analytics have been talked about a lot. Lately, the team seems to be making more questionable moves. I mean, I will say, like, this is the team, their whole strategy is to defy analytics. You look at the, expected goal share or whatever, they're like last in the league. This team has kind of pivoted, to instead of being a more analytically minded team, as far as the end result, to being a team that they're just hoping the analytics are wrong.
Yeah, I think internally the analytics still factor into things, but I think like this year specifically, the goal was just to get to the playoffs however you could, and they just kind of made the best moves that they could, just with that as the end goal.
Yeah, and you still see a lot of that stuff. I mean, I know so much of analytics stuff goes into like the drafting and developing. It's not just the end result on the NHL ice. From Sylvie, it took a year with us Firebirds to get to that point. Yeah, what Dylan just said. Yeah. Stratic, I saw done really bad playoff odds for the Kraken today. Oh, I saw some. There it is. I saw some really bad playoff odds for the Kraken today from Micah Blake McCurdy. His model does not like the Kraken. Yeah, there are some models that really, really do not like the Kraken. And I get why, because just the way they play, I feel like either the model is going to love them or hate them.
Right, exactly. It's when you play low events also, like it does then mean that like if there are going to be high quality chances either way in a game where there's just not a lot of chances, that kind of messes with the models. They're not really built for that. So I wonder if that sometimes gets in the way of things as well. It's a complicated team to try to quantify.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. As Maddie says, it all feels like a coin flip. Yeah. Feels like a lot of the season has been a coin flip. But a coin flip isn't the most interesting thing by itself. But you know what can make a coin flip interesting? Some friends, some food, some fun. You could have fun flipping a coin over and over again at Queen Anne Beer Hall. And we're going to get to watch another Kraken coin flip. I mean, the Predators are real close to them, the standings. Like, standings-wise, it's near a coin flip anyway.
I mean, that was the one team in the standings tonight that it kind of didn't go the Kraken's way, right? Like everybody else, Vegas lost, San Jose lost. I mean, Edmonton won because they were playing San Jose, but really it was just Nashville winning. That was kind of the only thing that was, bad for the Kraken.
Yeah, basically, Maddie, lots of plugging the beer hall for sure. But I can't stop thinking about the watch party. Like, I mean it. It's coming up in a couple days. I'm excited. I love the watch parties. It's such a great chance to hang out with all of you. It's like my favorite thing that we do. So I have been thinking about that a lot. And it does happen to be at Queen Anne Beer Hall, who does sponsor these post-game lives. And I do want to thank for sponsoring each and every one of these post-game lives. But I think with that, we're going to do it. We'll call it here at 10:50 with the national televised games. We're over an hour. They've turned off the lights. They're covering the ice right now. The Kraken are going to be on the road for a long time. Which beer hall? The Queen Anne Beer Hall. Good question there, Maddie. And with that, thanks everyone for joining us for this post-game live, and we'll see you all on Thursday in person.